Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Thomas. Today we're back here with Game Theory. We're back to That's Not My Neighbor. And this one's a hidden conspiracy, so back to the lore. So, I'm actually kind of curious to see where this goes, so let's check it out. Be sure to like, subscribe for more. Hope you enjoy. Here we go.
Is this thing working?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go.
I don't have much time. In our last theory, I said that the aliens in That's Not My Neighbor were part of the DDD's plan to take over the world. That was a lie. The DDD made me say that to keep people scared, to hide the truth. The truth is, the aliens are...
Us!
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that needs you to stop the doppelgangers by smashing that emergency subscribe button. Quickly, before they get in! Whew. Good
Hey!
job. I thought we dealt with all of these guys already, but apparently I was mistaken. Because out of nowhere, That's Not My Neighbor has made a comeback. If you managed to sneak past our previous theory like a doppel getting past the doorman, let me quickly get you up to speed. In That's Not My Neighbor, we take on the role of a new doorman at an apartment building. Our job is simple. Check the IDs of our neighbors as they enter the building and make sure none of their evil doppelgangers get inside. Using an ARG document given to us by one of the characters, as well as a few dates sprinkled throughout, we were able to figure out that these doppels weren't just some evil random entities, but government creations. They were made for a secret program known as the Trojan Horse Project, run by the one and only Dr. W. Afton. Yes, he's in this game too. No, I don't like it.
Damn you, Afton,
Anyway,
stay away!
The doppels were mostly good at mimicking ordinary people, and thanks to the image of the DDD, the Doppelganger Detection Department, standing next to aliens, it seemed like the DDD were using alien technology and
I can't
even their
remember the
biology
random
to
encounters
make these
it's called.
doppels in order to replace all the regular inhabitants of the apartment building and eventually take over the world body snatcher style. The problem was, the doppels weren't exactly cooperative, and eventually some of them escaped into the real world. This forced the government to hire us to work alongside the DDD and wrangle them up. Which brings us to today and the brand new mode that has been added to the game. One that I was very excited for. A campaign mode.
Oh,
Once
wow.
again, we are taking on the role of the doorman, only this time, instead of trying to last as long as possible, we had to survive 7 nights. Because FNAF has truly infiltrated every theory I do at this point. Thankfully, unlike FNAF, they broke away from the cryptic storytelling and gave us the thing that we crave. We've got 5 endings to unlock. More details about Dr. Afton and the DDD, and the answer to a question I didn't even know I needed. Who are the good guys in all of this? Let's just say that if you're a fan of 1950s sci-fi, you are going to love where this series is going. So get ready to dial lore on your rotary phones, theorists, because it's time for us to learn the true story of That's Not My Neighbor. As I mentioned, there are 5 different endings of this game mode. Some of them are pretty standard affairs. If you don't kill too many people, you get a job well done. If you let all the doppels in, they kill you and take over the world. It's pretty much what you'd expect. But there were a couple that gave me pause. If you were following the ARG or had watched our previous video, you'd know that Afton was the evil scientist involved in creating these doppels. And so, when he shows up in the campaign mode, you have the option to call the DDD on him immediately to get him killed. However, instead of being killed like every other neighbor in the series, right at the end of the game, he comes back because he always comes back. Afton tells you you shouldn't have stuck your nose where it didn't belong, and then he calls the DDD agents to take you out. This ending is actually called the conspiracy theorist ending, but as our suspicions about Afton and the DDD trying to do something super shady seem to be right, we best keep our eyes open and our tinfoil hats on, because who knows what other conspiracies will also prove to be true. Although, while
Actually, funnily enough, in the musical, like from Random Encounters, like the doorman, you know, who's singing something strange about my neighbor, I can't see him here, you know, that. The doorman turned out to be a doppelganger since it was like just something in the eye. Sorry for anyone who hasn't heard the song, but go check it out. It's really good to listen to, you know? And the humming I was doing, like, there was a line of it. If you see delinquency, just call me in the DDD, radar shine. Ladders dead on sight. Nope, that. At least that's how I heard about it, but anyway.
that part of our original theory was on the right track, what exactly Afton and the
But
DDD's
what's the
plans
true
are
ending,
with
though?
these doppels appears to differ slightly. We knew from this flashing image that this whole conspiracy involved aliens, somehow. With only a single frame to go off of, we ended up speculating that the aliens and the
True.
DDD were working together
Alright,
to
Tom.
intentionally have the doppels infiltrate society. The DDD was using the nightmares from Nightmare Mode to trick us into seeing everyone as a monster, leading us to call the DDD on everyone. But when you do that to a normal neighbor, they aren't captured like the doppels, they're killed off. It seemed like the DDD wanted us to let the doppels in, and also wanted us to do their dirty work and get rid of the people they were impersonating. However, thanks to one of the game's new endings, I'm no longer sure that's the case. If you decide to call the DDD on everyone, killing all of the residents, the DDD aren't exactly pleased.
Happy?
Instead, the game ends with you being arrested. Or if you decide to play the game perfectly, you don't kill any residents, you let all the residents in, and you call the DDD on every doppel, they actually give you an award. The DDD doesn't want regular citizens hurt. Sure, if you happen to mess up a couple of times, you'll get paid at the end of the week in the normal ending. That's just the cost of doing business.
True.
But killing too many people will rouse suspicion. All they want is for their abominations to be returned to them. Instead of this being a conspiracy to take over the world, it's just a classic case of a government cover-up. But then, what are the doppels for? The game takes place in 1955 after all. Is it just standard Cold War espionage? And if they're not doing an Invaders of the Body Snatchers parody, where do the aliens fit into all of this? Well, thankfully, it's not just new endings we got in the campaign mode. There's one other key element that shines a UFO-sized spotlight on this particular mystery, which in turn helps us to understand what the DDD really wants. Each night, we are shown newspaper clippings that tell the story of a man named Chester Teeter. Chester used to be an ordinary farmer. That was until, according to him, he started being harassed by aliens. One night, Chester claimed he saw and even shot at the aliens. Over the next few nights, the aliens continue to harass Chester. They circle his property. They even steal some of his cows, including his most precious cow, Lulu. 07's in the chat for our girl Lulu. Eventually, Chester himself goes missing, only to be returned the next day. But now he's changed. According to his family, he's babbling nonsense. He claims he was abducted by aliens who sent him to the future where he learned all about 21st century life. Now, if you've played this game before, you probably recognize Chester. He's the crazy hippie who randomly shows up at the apartment building and quizzes you about random real-world trivia. So we could easily chalk this whole story up to Chester just being a little eccentric. I mean, the design of Chester himself is a reference to The Truth, a character from GTA San Andreas, a former farmer who claims to have had interdimensional interactions with aliens. In fact, Chester's last name, Teeter, appears to be a reference to John Teeter, the pseudonym of a person online who in the early 2000s posted on message boards claiming to be a time traveler. But remember, we too were being branded a conspiracy theorist in this game for an idea that proved to be correct. So maybe we should give Chester's story a bit more credence. Plus, unlike those other characters whose close encounters of the third kind were never really verified, when you look at it, Chester's claims seem to be legit. For one, Chester describes the aliens as having large, dark eyes, which match the aliens we saw in that one frame with the DDD. But second, and most importantly, Chester does seem to have knowledge of things that haven't yet happened. According to the calendar on the wall, this game takes place in 1955, and yet, in his quiz, he asks about The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was first published in 1979, chess boxing, which was first envisioned in 1992, and even World of Warcraft, which was first released in 2004. There is no way Chester would know about any of these things unless he did, in fact, travel to the future, thanks to the aliens like he claimed. But even if you consider all of that information as non-canon to the campaign mode because it only appears in the arcade mode, we still have one crucial piece of evidence that shows that Chester's story is true: the design on his shirt. When you see him, he's dressed in the classic hippie attire, with a peace symbol right in the middle of his shirt. And that peace symbol was created by a man named Gerald Holtham in 1958. 3 years after this game takes place. Chester's story is legitimate. He was abducted by aliens right out of his field and shown the world of the future. But the question is, why? Why would aliens care to show the future to a random farmer? And again, what does this have to do with the photo of them in the DDD? Well, it's all to do with that peace symbol. Fun fact, this symbol wasn't made as a generic symbol of peace. It had a specific meaning. It was meant to represent the nuclear disarmament movement. And that ties us back to the real-world history we used in our last video. The main campaign takes place in 1955, the height of the Cold War. At this time, the United States and the Soviet Union had begun building up their massive nuclear arsenals. And that all started 10 years earlier in 1945, the same year as the creation of the Doppelganger program in the game, and the same year that a story arose about an avocado-shaped craft landing in the desert of New Mexico, right near the location of the Trinity nuclear bomb testing site, where the US tested the first ever atomic bomb a few weeks prior. These aliens could have sent Chester anywhere or any when they wanted, but they chose to send a man from the time where nuclear bombs were beginning their development to a time where the anti-nuke peace symbol was most prominent. That cannot be a coincidence. These aliens have the...
Okay, but Art, what the heck? Could it be like... Okay, I mean, the Warcraft reference and all that, and Universe Hitchhiker's Guide. So, what do you think would happen if you answered, like, some of that stuff? Like, 7, chess boxing, you know, all that. You think it's possible? Wait. Okay, I'm kind of curious what happened if you actually answered that. You know? Or, wait, what was the answer to that? I think it was like, okay, in the Hitchhiker's Guide, they ran the calculations. It was like a number. 42? Right? I don't know. Yeah, it turned out our Earth was like this big calculator calculating that same question. But due to some aliens, it blew up before they got the answer. I'm not kidding. It was like this, I think it was like 42 or something. I don't remember. If you guys remember the number, can you let me know? You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna look this up. Like, I remember it was like the number, but I don't know what the number was. Hold on. Okay, let's see. Just gonna go to the synopsis. Should give me like a idea on like what the plot is. Hold on. Here we go. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yep, the Vogons. High-speed expressway. See, where's those durables? Cold. No. No. Trout, sleeping gas. Oh, yeah, okay. 42, deep thought. Yep. The universe and everything. 42 made no sense. Self was not known. Yep, okay, so 42. So that was the number. Okay, my bad. So I was right. Yeah, even I don't know what that meant. Anyway.
The ability to look into the future, and so I suspect they saw the dangers of where humanity was heading with nuclear weapons. Weapons that, if used, would not only threaten all of humanity, but all life on Earth, even the cows. It's actually very similar to another classic 1950s sci-fi film, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm telling you, this dev loves some Golden Age era alien movies. In the movie, an alien lands on Earth, and we get the classic line,
"We have come to visit you in peace."
These aliens are non-aggressive. They then warn the humans that aliens from other planets are getting concerned about humanity's aggression and their development of nuclear weapons.
It is no concern of ours how you run your own planet, but if you threaten to extend your violence, this Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
I believe we are seeing the same thing play out in That's Not My Neighbor. Despite having the technology to literally travel through space and time, the aliens in That's Not My Neighbor don't seem to want to take over the Earth. Otherwise, they probably would have done it by now. Instead, Instead, they're just content flying around farms, abducting cows, learning about what life is like on this planet. Heck, Chester literally shoots at them, and yet instead of zapping him out of existence, they decide to capture him and send him on a journey through time to show him the ways of peace. These aliens didn't show up in 1945 to discuss helping the DDD, they came to warn the DDD about the future, trying to convince them that peace is the only way. Peace from nuclear weapons. That is what is going on in this random photo. But of course, humanity isn't great at listening. While aliens coming in peace might be a common sci-fi trope, the humanity thinks aliens are evil trope is just as common. Think about it. A super powerful race of beings comes down to Earth and say they're from the future and warn you of the total devastation your creation will cause. Do you A, reevaluate your position and consider disarming your nukes for the betterment of mankind, or B, assume that the aliens are actually trying to disarm humanity in order to make you vulnerable and take over the world? Yeah, deep down I think we all know which one humanity would ultimately take. And in the day the Earth stood still, that is exactly what happens. The humans end up tracking down and killing the alien that arrived on the planet to warn them. This is where the DDD's plan comes into focus. They didn't trust the aliens that wanted to remove their only means of defense in this new war, and so it would be better to strike them first. If these aliens are abducting people like Chester, then the best way to get close to them would be to get others abducted. Though it wouldn't be safe to send your own people. We don't even know if we have enough firepower to stop them. Chester shot at them and it didn't really seem to do anything. So why not create doppelgangers? Creatures indistinguishable from real humans with perfectly replicable verbal communication, regardless of language, be it English, Russian, or perhaps Blizzball, all while having an insatiable appetite for death and violence. Then, when the aliens inevitably capture one of these doppels instead of the humans they were supposed to, these doppels can study the aliens' behaviors, kill them, and report back to the DDD. That's why when you call the DDD to report a doppel, they aren't killed like the neighbors, they're captured. They're still useful. They could still be trained to be more obedient and carry out the mission they were literally born to do. It's also why, despite nearly every character in the building having a doppel of their own, including Afton, Chester doesn't. I mean, what good is it to make a doppel of him when he's already been abducted? They've already shown him the future and, based on his shirt, convinced him to join their cause. They're unlikely to pick the same guy twice, and so a doppel of him just has no purpose. And all this time, we thought the doppels were created to spy on political enemies and take over the world. But in fact, the doppels were created to keep an eye on and destroy a different threat. If by threat you mean a peace-loving species that is trying to save humanity from itself. Although, much like our nuclear weapons, the creation of the doppels came with some unintended consequences. They weren't game for our plan. They escaped, and now they are hell-bent on infiltrating society and taking over. Exactly what the DDD were afraid the aliens would do. Either way, the ending will be the same. Humans will end up destroying themselves with their own genius creations, be it the nukes or the doppels. Or maybe, if we're lucky, the aliens will see that humanity is a lost cause and put us out of our misery. Just make sure the cows are safe this time. I can't bear the thought of losing Lulu again. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. And if you're looking for more government conspiracy...
Jeez. Okay, let's be real. If we ever have aliens, let's make it a rule of not shoot first. Please. Just please don't shoot. Because frankly, they're here, they're in spaceships, they could probably wipe us out. Don't shoot. Okay? Just hear what they want to say. Otherwise, they're gonna do screw us over. Sorry, I haven't put it out there, but you know it's true. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Adios.